College football fans, welcome back or welcome in to the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog, the only channel made by the college football fans for the college football fans, the channel where we examine, discuss, celebrate, and honor all things college football across the entire college football landscape, the channel where you don't have to be a fan of the black and gold of the Iowa Hawkeyes, but for the fans and fans alike, a gathering place, a safe haven to discuss all things college football and give homage and praise and thanks for the greatest sporting event and season we have in this great nation of the United States of America. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks. It's great to be back with you, as I've got great news for you, my fellow college football brethren and sisters, all of you fanatics. As I tape this episode today on Thursday, August 15th, we are 9 days away from the official kickoff of the 2024 college football season, where Florida State and Georgia Tech meet up across the pond in Dublin, Ireland, and Aviva Stadium. So the college football season is nigh. It is upon us. What a long, drawn-out, boring summer it's been and off-season. So welcome back. Hallelujah, college football. Woo! And what is on the docket for today's episode? Since we are 9 days out, this is my fourth season doing the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, and today I get to do one of my favorite, if not my most favorite episode I do every year, my upcoming college football season bold predictions. So what's on tap today is my 2024 bold predictions episode. Each and every year I will break out 25 bold predictions, and then at season's conclusion, after the regular season has come and gone, after conference championship weekend, bowl season has wrapped up, and the college football playoffs have played out, I will always go ahead and do a rewind, or let's run it back episode to critique myself and see exactly how I fared prior to the kickoff of that past season. And I've got to tell you, the last 3 seasons, your boy here has done pretty well. Like Larry David would say on Curb Your Enthusiasm, I've done pretty good. Anyway, so please, I always ask that I want to spread the word about the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. I want to find more college football fans just like you. So please subscribe, like, share, rate, and above all, I always ask for, welcome, and encourage your involvement. Please exercise your college football fandom voice and comment to anything that I say during this episode. I always want your comments, so please light them up on the space below, and I promise you, I will get back to each and every one of you individually much sooner than later. But please give me a little bit of time. This is just a hobby job. I've got a legit job. I've got 2 children, a lot of other hobbies, responsibilities. So this is just for fun, but I will get back to you very soon. And what a absolute pleasure and blessing it has been and will continue to be for me to be here with you on the weekly to share my love of all things college football with you, my fellow college football fans. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my 2024 college football bold predictions. Number 1, entering the college football playoffs, there will be 0 undefeated teams within the Power 4 conferences. Yes, I was not misquoted. Gone are the Power 5. Now we're down to the Power 4 since the Pac-12 conference, the Conference of Champions, has gone the way of the old Big East and the way of the Dodo. So that's going to take a little getting used to still for me here in the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. But due to conference realignment and expansion, and with that has been the unbalanced scheduling, I believe we will have 0 undefeated teams by the time the college football playoffs begin in late November, early December. All right? I'm not saying there's not great teams. There are, but there's just going to be a lot more hurdles and way more difficult because of those circumstances to go undefeated. So number 2, let's get right down to it. My Heisman Trophy finalists, then followed by who I believe and predict will win this year's Heisman Trophy. Now, bear with me. Last year, your boy here did pick Jayden Daniels from LSU to take home the hardware. The season prior, before he got hurt, I was one of the very few who went on record and said Hendon Hooker Jr., the quarterback at Tennessee, will win the Heisman Trophy. He was well underway until that late season injury. So you might want to listen to this. So in alphabetical order, number 2, here are my 4 Heisman Trophy finalists. First will be Carson Beck, quarterback from the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 2, Ollie Gordon II, running back from Oklahoma State. Third, Dylan Gabriel, quarterback from the Oregon Ducks, who are now in the Big Ten Conference. And last but not least, now this is kind of my off-the-radar finalist. Just like Hendon Hooker Jr. was 2 seasons ago, I like Jack Sawyer, the defensive end from Ohio State, to make the final cut. I know that's something that we do not see much anymore. It primarily has become a quarterback-driven award. I get that, and trophy. But a few seasons back when Aiden Hutchinson made the finals, the defensive end for Michigan, and plus Ohio State is going to be one of those top-tier contenders for the Natty title. I think they'll have so much talent on that team, it's going to be tough for an offensive player to separate themselves, and Jack Sawyer is an absolute stud. I mean, 6.5 sacks last season, had a big-time bowl game performance in the loss against Missouri when they were down to their third-string quarterback, I think maybe even a walk-on. But that's the 4 gents that I like, those 4 cats to make the Heisman Trophy finalists there in NYC. Number 3, so who do I believe will hoist and take home the coveted Heisman Trophy in 2024? It'll go to, another surprise here, running back Ollie Gordon II from Oklahoma State will win the Heisman Trophy when all is said and done. I expect a huge year, not just for Ollie Gordon, but also for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And you're going to want to see why here a little bit later in this episode. I am very high on the Cowboys down there in Stillwater. So that's my Heisman Trophy finalists and pick. Number 4, moving on. My last few seasons, I always like to look into my crystal ball and see, what's going to be the turnover in the coaching ranks? And as I stated, I have done very well, especially with this subject. So now I want to go ahead and share a couple of bold predictions and crystal ball predictions on when it comes down to coaches. So number 4, the following coaches will either be fired and relieved of their duties at season's end or during the regular season. So these coaches entered this season on the hot seat. Some you definitely will know about and agree with, but a couple might come a little bit as a surprise or a shock. But in alphabetical order, these are the coaches I expect to be axed. Dave Aranda down there at Baylor. Billy Napier there in Florida, who I think his seat is the hottest coming in to this regular season of 2024. Pat Narduzzi, head coach there at Pitt. Sam Pittman, head coach at Arkansas, who I really like Coach Pittman, his character, but I think he'll be ousted as well at some point. And last but not least, one of my favorite head coaches, but the last few seasons, things have been trending in the wrong direction. Kalani Sitake, head coach out there at BYU. I love what he's done there, but since they've made that transition into the Big 12 last year, I think they're going to continue to fall behind with the talent level, and I think Coach Sitake will be replaced. Now, moving on with some of my coaching predictions. Number 5, at season's end, the following coaches will retire and ride off into the sunset, so to speak. They will leave under their own recognizance. I think Mack Brown, head coach at North Carolina, former national championship winner at Texas, will retire. I think Kyle Whittingham, who is the second longest tenured head coach in the FBS, head coach out there at Utah, will also go ahead and step down and retire. And I've said this the last couple of years, but I'll keep saying it. I think Iowa's very own head coach Kirk Ferentz, the longest tenured head coach in college football at the FBS ranks, will also hang it up and ride off into the sunset to enjoy their retirements. We'll have to wait and see. But I definitely think 2 of those 3 that will come to fruition. Now, moving on with coaches. Number 6. In a couple of these next 2, number 6 and 7, kind of go hand in hand. Both deal with coaches entering their second year. And the nice thing, even more intertwined, because they do face off against each other on the gridiron, I believe, in week 2 or maybe week 3. Number 6, Coach Prime. Coach Deion Sanders in year 2 there in Boulder as the head man of the Colorado Buffaloes will not lead the Buffaloes to a postseason berth this season. There's still a lot to go there, folks. I mean, say what you want or think what you want to about Coach Deion Sanders. Is he a superstar? Absolutely. But Colorado, the rest of the actual team, they are not. I definitely think this team could maybe improve by 1 win. Last year, they went 4-8. The previous season, they were 1-11. Coach Prime comes in, basically cleans house and then some, basically kicks everybody to the curb, the previous roster, basically just reloads via the transfer portal, and that's really what he did during the offseason. So at this point, the accountability for Coach Prime is absolutely increased because this is his team. I do think they will get to 5 wins, but I do not believe they will get to postseason. I just think they are still really short and weak along both lines of scrimmage. They don't have a lot of depth. And if you haven't watched Coach Prime's press conferences lately, there is just a lot of things, I think, going on behind closed doors. You know, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. There is a lot of distractions and things going on there in Boulder. So, and I think at season's end, Coach Prime will have to maybe rethink his strategy of, hey, replenishing, playing, recruiting via the portal. It is not going to work for him there at Colorado. Number 7, another head coach in their second year, Coach Matt Rhule there at Nebraska. Year 2 will lead the Huskers to a postseason berth for its first time since 2016, which that sounds bad enough. I mean, I'm 43 years old. I never imagined that we would see this kind of drought from the powerhouse that I remember of Nebraska, the Huskers. But to put this more in context, they haven't been to a bowl game since the Barack Obama administration. Little drop there being a election year. But I do think they will get to that 6-win plateau. They will improve, and they will break through and make the postseason once again. So let's move on. Number 8, also dealing with coaches, kind of keep this going. Number 8, the award this year for Coach of the Year will go to, drumroll, grrr, Matt Campbell, the head coach of the Iowa State Cyclones. I know, Iowa fans, I know some of you might have just vomited in your mouth a little bit. I get that. But trust me, I think Iowa State, our in-state rival, is due for a big-time season. And I think Matt Campbell will take home that award for Coach of the Year. Definitely want to stay tuned to see later in this episode just how high I think the Iowa State Cyclones can go. Number 9, last one dealing with coaches. Number 9, at season's end, Ohio State head football coach Ryan Day will exit Ohio State for greener pastures in the NFL. I definitely think win, lose, or draw. I mean, the mindset right now in Columbus, especially after what they added via the transfer portal and what they had coming back to their roster, a lot of these players, Jack Sawyer, who I already mentioned, said, nope, I'll hold off on the NFL. It really is natty title or bust there in Columbus. So I think either way, this will be Coach Ryan Day's last season there inside the Horseshoe. What team he's going to go to in the NFL, I don't know. Andy Reid is getting quite up there in age. Hey, I'm a resident here of the Show Me State in Missouri. So all these Chiefs fans, they love Andy Reid, and how can you not? But he's getting up there. So I could see maybe Ryan Day going to the Chiefs or some other NFL franchise. We'll have to wait and see. But that's what I think is in Coach Ryan Day's near future. All right, moving on from the coaching subject, number 10. And I'm telling you, if you are a gambler, if you're down on your luck, or hey, you need a quick payday, you might want to listen up here to number 10. I'm going to share with you my surefire best bet over-under win totals. I did do an episode a few weeks ago. If you want to watch that episode to get more in-depth detail on those best bet win totals for Team A, B, C, and D, etc., please watch it. But these are the 4 surefire best bet win totals that I'm going to lay a little bit of money down on myself. And I have a very, very strong record the last 3 seasons doing this, and I expect it to continue this season. All right. So here are my 4 best bet win total teams. First, the Indiana Hoosiers via BetMGM, excuse me. They are predicted at 5.5 victories. I am taking the over there in Bloomington under first-year head coach Kirk Cignetti. They've got 31 transfers in, a lot of his players from James Madison, his previous stop, which was a huge success, was a great success, have followed him to Indiana. So I don't think there'll be a much change of attitude or identity. And their schedule is very inviting for the Indiana Hoosiers. So take the over on 5.5. Next, last year's national runner-up, the Washington Huskies, pegged for 6.5 victories. I'm going with the under. I mean, I think they have 44 brand new scholarship players this year. So basically a roster that has been completely revamped. Also gone is their coach Kalen DeBoer, who now has taken over at Alabama. They're entering the Big Ten, very physical conference. I do not see Washington getting to 7 victories. I think it's even going to be difficult for them to get to 6 victories for bowl eligibility. Take the under on the Huskies. Third, UCF, the Central Florida Golden Knights, currently pegged at 7.5 victories in a very, very competitive and deep Big 12 conference. I love me some Gus Malzahn, the old Gus Bus. I'm a passenger, but I don't think they're quite ready to contend physically and with the speed yet in the Big 12. They are getting close, and their schedule is definitely challenging. I don't think they're going to get to 8 wins. Go with the under with UCF. And finally, you're going to hear it again, Hawkeye fans, if you need to, earmuffs. The Iowa State Cyclones pegged at 7.5 victories. I'm taking the over twice each and every day. All right, they are going to get to 8 victories at least. So those are my 4 best bet win totals for this year in the 2024 college football season. Please subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know what you think so far. Let's move on to number 11. Now, I'm not going to expand on these next 3 too much. Next week's episode I will, but I've got to give a little bit of love to my fellow Hawkeye fans. I've got 3 quick bold predictions for my Iowa Hawkeyes. Number 11, at season's end, Iowa will obtain and possess all 3 of their Big Ten rivalry trophies. So I do think they will capture The Floyd of Rosedale Trophy, my favorite trophy, the Divine Swine. They will defeat Minnesota. I think they will defeat Wisconsin for the Heartland Trophy. And they will defeat Nebraska on Black Friday for the Heroes Trophy inside Kinnick Stadium. And that one's set for a 6:30 kickoff time on Black Friday. So you definitely want to bundle up, Hawkeye and Husker fans, for that game. So I think Iowa's trophy case will be full, at least from a Big Ten conference perspective. Number 12. After watching and listening, reading the insight following the open practice last weekend, the Kids Day in Kinnick, number 12, by week 5, Brendan Sullivan, the transfer who came in during the offseason, late in the offseason, he arrived in Iowa City in June from Northwestern. By week 5, he will replace quarterback Cade McNamara as Iowa's starting quarterback. I just think Brendan Sullivan, his style fits new OC Tim Lester's style of play and what he's looking to build. And I think week 5 would be a perfect opportunity. Iowa plays 4 games out of the bat, back-to-back. Then they have an off week to prep before they travel to mighty Ohio State. So that would make perfect sense. After their week 4 contest up at Minnesota, make the quarterback change, give Brendan Sullivan all the reps with the first unit, and then see how he does on the road in Columbus. Number 13, speaking of Iowa's new OC, Tim Lester. Yes, I know the Iowa offense has been the running joke for the last, 2 to 3 seasons, deservedly so. I mean, they've been quite offensive as far as their offense. But number 13, under new OC Tim Lester's leadership, the Iowa offense will rank 99th or better in the FBS ranks. I know some of you right now are just slapping the knee, or you're giggling, you're laughing. 99th? Are you kidding me? Way to set your bar high, but hey, 99th or better is better than what we have been in the 130s, okay? All right, all Iowa has to do is just make the makeables on offense. Don't make mistakes. Just do what you do. Be average at best, and let that defense and special teams do what they do. And as I said, I will expand more on this on next week's episode, which is all about the Iowa Hawkeyes, my 2024 Iowa Hawkeye season preview. All right, moving on. Number 14, as far as the rankings, this is where I try to identify teams who I believe are overrated right out of the gate, and some that I believe are also underrated. So let's start with the overrated first. Number 14, the following teams will begin the season ranked within the AP Top 25, but will finish the regular season unranked. So prior to bowl season, I've got number 23 USC, number 21 Arizona, number 16 Oklahoma, and number 14 Clemson. I think those teams aren't as advertised. They will have good years, solid years, but to me, I don't believe they're ranked teams at this point anyway. So now the reverse, right? Number 15, the following teams will begin the regular season unranked within the AP Top 25, but will finish ranked at the conclusion of the regular season. Once again, I believe the Iowa State Cyclones will be ranked. The SMU Mustangs, now in the ACC conference. Can you believe that? The Auburn Tigers in the SEC, and the Memphis Tigers. So I like both those Tigers to be ranked at the end of the regular season as well. Number 16, to kind of now expand and talk a little bit more about expansion, about college football expansion and realignment. I really want to make it a point here to share with you the teams that I think will have, maybe instant success compared to those who are really going to mightily struggle and face a lot of challenge and adversity in the first inaugural season in their new conferences. So let's move into that right now. And please, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you for all you do for the channel. Love you. A little Sammy Sosa style. There we go. Number 16, following expansion, the following teams will experience the most success in their new conferences. In the ACC, I already mentioned, I think SMU is locked, ready, and loaded to make some noise in the ACC. I expect this team to be an 8, maybe 9-win team there for SMU. In the Big 12, I do like Utah, the two Utes, right? I do like Coach Whittingham in Utah, one of my favorite teams to watch. I think they will have good success in the newly aligned Big 12. In the Big 10, absolutely, the Oregon Ducks, I think, are legit. They're a top 4 team for good reason. I think they will have very good success in the Big 12, in the Big 10 this season, and you might want to, once again, hold off to see how much success I think Oregon will have later in this episode. And finally, in the SEC, I think Texas will have the most luck of it. Good to go in their first season because they do have talent. They are uber talented, but also their schedule is very inviting and set up very well for them for success their first year in the SEC. Now, the flip side of that. So expansion and realignment will be kind to some, but not to others. And that is this list, number 17. Following expansion, the following teams will face the most challenges and struggles and disappointment in their new conferences during their inaugural season. In the ACC, the Stanford Cardinal, I think they come in very, very undermanned. And it is the Cardinal, not the Cardinals. I mean, it's kind of a one of those quiz trivia questions. They're one of the very few mascots that's singular, not plural. And it's not a bird, it's a tree, okay? In the Big 12, Colorado, Colorado, I've already mentioned. I think they are going to fall flat from at least getting to postseason. But if they get to 5 wins, that is improvement. But they definitely leave the better conference, at least last season. I mean, it's really a shame how legit and stacked the Pac-12 was last year during their last dance. Well, like Diane Warwick style, right? Let's dance, the last dance. But they do go to, I think, a easier conference, but a conference that I think is going to be the deepest from top to bottom, the most competitive. So Colorado will struggle in the Big 12. In the Big 10, the UCLA Bruins, brand new head coach in Deshaun Foster, who has 0.0 head coaching experience. Really have to reload, retool. Coach Chip Kelly left to take over the OC position at Ohio State. I think they will mightily struggle. I don't think they're going to get to bowl eligibility. I'm very, very certain of that. And in the SEC, Oklahoma. Oklahoma will make a postseason game. There's no doubt about it. But this is a team that's looking at 4 to 5 losses. I mean, they have to replace their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, who transferred up to Oregon, as I mentioned already. But not just that, but their entire offensive line had to be revamped, restructured, and replaced, going into arguably the most physical conference in the nation. Good luck with that. And when you look at their schedule, the SEC offices did Oklahoma absolutely 0 favors for scheduling their first year. This is going to be a 4 or 5 loss Oklahoma team. I know Oklahoma fans are saying that's unacceptable. How dare he disrespect us like this? It's no disrespect. It's just the truth. All right? Like Miss Cleo once said, I keep it real. Okay? All right. Number 18, moving on. I like to always give you my top 5s as far as games that will matter, both non-con and conference games. So let's start with the non-conference. Number 18, my top 5 non-conference games and results that will ultimately factor big time into the college football playoff. Opening week, we have 2 actually in opening week. USC versus LSU in Sin City in Las Vegas. Clemson takes on Georgia at a neutral site in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. Yeah, So much for a neutral site there between Clemson and Georgia. I do like Georgia to win that game on opening weekend. Week 2, probably the biggest non-con matchup of the season, at least from a brand perspective. Texas travels to the Big House to take on Michigan. Week 2, I do like Texas to find a way to win that game. I think Michigan will still be trying to figure out their quarterback situation. But if it was later in the year, I might think differently. But I do like UT to get it done inside the Big House. Also in week 2, Iowa State travels to Iowa City to take on my Hawkeyes. I think Iowa's going to kind of be like Michigan a little bit. They're still going to be kind of figuring out their quarterback situation, getting used to a new offense. I do think Iowa State will come into Kinnick, find a way to get it done. So I do like the Cyclones to take care of the Hawkeyes. And yes, it does pain me to say that, Hawkeye fans, but you know me. If you watched before or your first time, I am not a Homer Simpson. Yes, obviously, I root for the black and gold, but first and foremost, I'm a college football fan. All right, so I like the Cyclones to defeat the Hawkeyes. And later in the season, Florida State travels to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. I like the Seminoles, and DJ Uiagalelei transfers from Oregon State to Tallahassee, Florida State. I like the Seminoles to get it done in front of Touchdown Jesus inside South Bend. Number 19, my top 5 conference games and results. Same situation. They will go far as who advances to these conference championship games, and even then to the college football expanded playoffs. The ACC game of the year, Florida State travels to Miami. I like the U to get it done. I'm very high on Miami this season. In the Big 12, I think the game of the year is Utah travels to Oklahoma State to take on the Cowboys in Stillwater. The Big 10 game of the year, and once again, I know the game between the rivals Ohio State and Michigan is a rite of passage, but there's no doubt the Big 10 game of the year is when Ohio State travels to Oregon. And this might be the game of the year in general. They're both, I believe, in the top 3 in the AP poll that just came out. And this is going to be the game of the year. And this is going to be as advertised. And I do like Oregon to pull the upset, to take care of business inside Autzen Stadium. And now the SEC has 2, because they are top 5. The first one in the SEC, Georgia travels to Alabama. These 2 juggernauts and Titans do not play each other very often, other than in the SEC title game or Natty title game recently. But I do like Georgia to get it done on the road in Tuscaloosa. And the other SEC game is Georgia at Ole Miss. Georgia, I think, is uber good, but they have a uber challenging schedule, just like Ohio State does. The other team that I think Georgia and Ohio State, like most people believe, I think they're on the next level, but their schedules are daunting. I do like Ole Miss to pull the upset and take care of Georgia down there in Oxford, and the Grove will be rocking and rolling there in Oxford, so I can't wait to see that. So those are my top 5s. Moving on now, setting up my college football playoff predictions as far as who I like to get in, the round matchups, and my results. First of all, we got to talk about who I believe is going to face off in the conference championship games and who is going to win those matchups. So let's go there with number 20. And please, thank you once again for your time, your attention. Like, share, subscribe, comment, get involved. I can't wait to hear from you. So here are my conference championship game matchups and results. And 3 out of these 4 are rematches that take place during the regular season. In the ACC, I like Florida State and Miami to hook up. Now, I already said I think Miami will defeat them in the regular season, but I think in the conference title game, Florida State gets revenge. They win the ACC. In the Big 12, this is the only one of the 4 that is not a rematch of the regular season. They do not meet up. But in the Big 12, I believe Oklahoma State will match up with Iowa State, the Cowboys versus the Cyclones. And I do like Iowa State to get it done over the Cowboys to win the Big 12. In the Big 10, I already said it, it's a matchup of their regular season matchup. I like Ohio State to play Oregon, and I believe Ohio State returns the favor. They take care of business, get revenge against the Ducks, take home the Big 10 title. And finally, in the SEC, another matchup of a regular season matchup. I think Georgia will face off with Texas, but I think Georgia will end up winning both of those matchups. I like Georgia to win the SEC. And in doing so, those 4 teams will be your automatic first-round buys moving into the college football playoff. All right, now, what I will do next, the drum roll, this is what you've all been waiting for. I'm going to unveil to you my college football playoff predictions, rankings, and matchups, how I think they will advance from the opening round to the finals, and who will take home this year's Natty title. Let's see how this goes. And this is going to be very difficult. The first year where it's the expanded playoff, years past, I've done very well predicting the 4-team playoff, but this is going to be a lot more difficult moving forward. All right. So number 21, my predicted college football playoff field and seeds are as follows. Let me get a quick little drink. All right. So the first 4 will be those 4 conference champions, and they will get the first round bye. I like the number 1 seed to go to Ohio State. The number 2 seed will go to Georgia. I think number 3 seed will be given to Florida State. And number 4 then will be the Iowa State Cyclones. Now, the rest of the college football playoff field, 5 through 12, we have all of the at-larges and the one non-power 5 representative. So we have one that's an automatic berth and the rest are at-larges. So number 5, my first at-large bid goes to the Oregon Ducks at number 5. Number 6 will be the Texas Longhorns. Number 7, here's kind of a surprise. I like LSU to make the playoffs out of the SEC. Number 8, I like the defending national champion Michigan Wolverines to make the college football playoff field. Number 9, I like the ACC runner-up. I like Miami to, yes, lose the title game, but they will get an at-large bid at number 9. Number 10, I like the Ole Miss Rebels. Based on what I just mentioned, the conference game of the year, I think that big win at home against Georgia is going to be what separates them and gets them into the field over other contenders. Just like Michigan. I think Michigan will lose to Texas, as I said. I think they will lose to their arch rival, Ohio State. Ohio State will end that three-game losing streak. But I think Michigan will upset Oregon in the Big House. That's their one big win to get in kind of victory. So Ole Miss is number 10. Number 11, kind of a surprise. Maybe you're expecting another Big 10 or SEC representative. I like the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The Big 12 runner-up, I think they will get in as the last at-large team. And number 12, my representative from the non-power 5 or what, the group of 5. So now it would be the non-power 4. But I'll say this, the group of 5 representative, I love this team. I'm all about the Memphis Tigers. I think they will be the 12 seed. And that is my predicted college football playoff field. Please let me know what you think about that. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Thanks again for everything you do. So now 22. Let's move on to the first round matchups and results. Number 12, Memphis will travel to Oregon. I like Oregon to win that game. Remember, these games are played on campus sites, which I love. The next matchup, number 11, Oklahoma State will travel to number 6, Texas. And in a upset, I like the Cowboys to get it done. They return, obviously, my Heisman Trophy winner, running back Ollie Gordon II. Their entire offensive line is back. Alex Bowman, the showman, is back for like his 10th year of college. He's pulling the Van Wilder on us. He just needs to limit his turnovers. But here's the thing. And Texas fans, I'm going to give you some more nightmares here. 2010, that was the first year that Mike Gundy, the long-tenured head coach at Oklahoma State, that was the first year he defeated Texas. And since 2010, he has gone 9-4 against Texas. He has a lot of familiarity with them. That's why I like the Cowboys to upend Texas this year early in the playoffs. Next game, number 10, Ole Miss will travel to number 7, LSU. I like the Tigers inside Death Valley. LSU gets it done. And then finally, number 9, Miami travels to number 8, Michigan. Can you think of that? It's late, it would be, early December, and Miami has to travel to Michigan, the big house outdoors. Good luck with that. I like Michigan in that matchup. So moving on, number 23, my college football playoff quarterfinal matchups and results. I know you're just holding on to the edge of your seat here. Now, these next round games will be at your normal or more traditional bowl tie-in sites. So the Rose Bowl will host the number 1 seed, Ohio State. And listen to this matchup. Number 1 Ohio State will play number 8 Michigan. How great is that? I believe that'll be the second matchup. It could maybe even be the third. If Michigan, if they do get back to the conference title game, we could see the game 3 times, but I think twice. And I'm saying right now, if that's in the Rose Bowl, Ohio State, Michigan, that will hands down be the most watched college football game ever in history. Unfortunately, I like Ohio State to take care of Michigan in that one as well. The Sugar Bowl would be number 2 Georgia would take on number 7 LSU. An SEC battle, just like the Rose Bowl was a Big Ten battle. I like Georgia to take care of the Tigers in the Sugar Bowl. The Peach Bowl, number 3 Florida State would match up with number 11 Oklahoma State. And once again, I just have a feeling with the depth, experience, and returning production of Oklahoma State, I like Oklahoma State to pull the upset and move on and defeat Florida State. Oklahoma State and Iowa State are both top 5 this year in returning production on both sides of the ball. I think that's going to pay dividends, especially with the unbalanced scheduling, jeez, like Porky Pig there. Unbalanced scheduling. Let's try that again. You know, I do my own stunts here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. But I think that's going to be that deciding factor. Your identity, your culture, and hold fast to what you do. So I like Oklahoma State to defeat Florida State. And in the Fiesta Bowl, I think it's going to be one of the funnest matchups to watch. Number 4, Iowa State will take on number 5, Oregon. But I do like the Ducks to outscore them and advance. So now, moving on, number 24. The college football playoff semifinal matchups and results are as follows. It'll be the 3rd time they play this season. Number 1, Ohio State versus number 5, Oregon. And I know, I already said this. Most everybody, and when I say everybody, I'm saying 90% of the so-called experts, analysts, enthusiasts, fans like myself, right, are picking Georgia and Ohio State to meet up in the college football playoff natty title game, but I am not. In this matchup, I like Oregon to defeat Ohio State to advance to the national championship game. And the other semifinal, number 2 Georgia takes on number 11 Oklahoma State. It's a great run for the Cowboys, but I think it ends against Georgia, who's just too much. I think, you know, they do have a little bit more in the tank, a little bit more ways to wear down Oklahoma State and defeat them. So I like Georgia to advance. So number 25, setting up the national championship game, you've got number 2 Georgia versus number 5 Oregon. Who do I like? All right. So I'm going a little bit off keel here. all right? I think Georgia is as advertised, just like Oregon is. Now, really, you have an SEC school now in the Big Ten who's from the Northwest in Oregon. Head coach Dan Lanning is an SEC guy, the former DC at aforementioned Georgia, their opponent. He has brought that mentality, that strength, that hustle, that physicality to Autzen. But Georgia is the team that introduced that to him. Absolutely, they have all this returning production. They are lined up with stars here and there. They can simply plug and play. But, wow, I think it's going to be a great title game. And it's never been in doubt. It's never been a question. Oregon has always had talent and speed and athletes. Absolutely. Just they've kind of lacked that physicality. But Dan Lanning has brought that to Oregon. So in the Natty title game, unlike what everybody else is saying, I do like Oregon to defeat Georgia, the new kids on the block, first year in the Big Ten, advance into the playoff and hoist the national championship game. That's right, the Oregon Ducks will be crowned college football champions at the end of this season, just like Michigan was last year. And by the way, your boy here told you that from day one, that Michigan was the best team and was going to win the national championship game. I do think Oregon will get it done. I just have a feeling that they are locked and loaded. I mean, they are so strong on both sides of the ball, in the trenches especially. On the O-line, the D-line, they have so much speed on the outside. And Oregon is not an Iowa. They're not a program that utilizes their tight ends. But I was watching the Big Ten tailgate show the other day, or the bus show. And they even said, oh yeah, these guys, Oregon's got 3 tight ends that are legit pros. They don't even use tight ends there that much. They're not a featured part of their offense. And they're talking about the tight ends being potentially pro prospects. Oregon's loaded. They find a way to get it done. Give me the Ducks. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So thank you for everything this episode, your time, your attention. Please get involved. I can't wait to hear from you. Subscribe. I want to find more college football fans just like you. We gotta keep this momentum rolling into the regular season. So what is on tap for next week? I already mentioned, but as a reminder, I'll bring to you next Thursday my 2024 Iowa Hawkeye season preview and prediction episode. So it's going to be all about the black and gold next week. I'm all about that base, I'm all about the black and gold. That's it. So please like, share, subscribe, comment. Until next week, be safe, be responsible, enjoy the rest of your workday. For those of you who return to school, best of luck with that this week. Have a good weekend. And until then, bye-bye from the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Go Hawks. See you then. Bye-bye.